Sometimes the universe has a sick sense of humor about timing. I'm Tiffany, 33 years old, and I thought I had everything figured out when I walked into that mediation office. Anyway, make sure to hit that like button if you enjoy my stories, and don't forget to subscribe if you're new here. What I'm about to tell you will probably shock you, but this is exactly how everything went down. 7 years of marriage to Chandler, and I swear the man never understood what I actually needed. He was 36, worked constantly, and had this obsessive need to control every aspect of our life together. Always asking where I was going, who I was with, what time I'd be home. Like I was some teenager with a curfew instead of his wife. The man was suffocating, always hovering around me with this needy energy that honestly made my skin crawl. 2 years ago, I made the decision to quit my job. I needed space to breathe, to figure out who I really was outside of being Chandler's wife and this corporate drone. But did he support my journey of self-discovery? Hell no. Instead, he started questioning every penny I spent, every friend I made, every late night I had. The paranoia was exhausting. Here's the thing. When your husband is emotionally unavailable and treats you like a roommate instead of a woman, you start looking elsewhere for what you need. I'm not proud of it, but I'm not going to pretend I didn't deserve to feel wanted and appreciated. David understood my artistic side in ways Chandler never could. Reagan made me laugh until my stomach hurt, something I hadn't experienced at home in years. Bryce actually listened when I talked about my dreams and goals. And Harlow? He made me feel beautiful and desired, not like some obligation Chandler had to deal with. Were these relationships crossing lines? Maybe. But when your husband treats you like you're invisible, unless he needs something from you, you find people who actually see you. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. I was trying to survive in a marriage that had been dead for years. Chandler was so wrapped up in his work and his rigid little routines that he never noticed I was dying inside. The signs were all there if he'd bothered to pay attention. New friends, late nights, actually caring about how I looked when I went out. But instead of asking what was wrong or trying to reconnect with me, he got suspicious and controlling. Started checking up on me, demanding to know my whereabouts, acting like some jealous boyfriend instead of a supportive husband. I remember thinking as I prepared for mediation that finally we could end this charade and both move on to something better. I deserved the house. I'd been the one actually living in it, making it a home while he buried himself in spreadsheets and conference calls. The condo could be his consolation prize, along with his precious work documents and whatever other crap he valued more than our marriage. Walking into that beige conference room with its awful fluorescent lighting, I felt confident. This was going to be straightforward. We'd split things fairly. I'd get spousal support since I'd sacrificed my career for our marriage, and we could both start fresh. The mediator, Mr. Patterson, seemed reasonable enough, though he moved at a glacial pace that was testing my patience. Can we just skip to the part where I get what I deserve? This is taking forever, I said, because someone needed to move things along. I mean, we both knew this marriage had been over for years. Why drag out the inevitable with endless paperwork and formalities? When Chandler agreed to discuss what fair looked like, I felt vindicated. Finally, he was going to acknowledge my contributions to our relationship. When he slid that first folder across the table offering me the house, I couldn't help but laugh. You're offering me the house and keeping the condo. The satisfaction was sweet. Wow, you really loved me, didn't you? Something shifted in his expression, but I was riding high on finally being heard. I did, he said, like it was past tense, like he was already done with me. Do you really think you're the only one who felt that way? I shot back, because honestly, his naive little bubble needed bursting. Come on. You can't be that clueless. You think you were the only man who thought I was special? The only one who said I was his everything? The laughter bubbled up again. God, you're all so predictable. Because they were. Men always thought they were so unique, so special, when really they all wanted the same things from a woman. That's when Chandler reached into his briefcase and pulled out a second folder, thicker than the first. Something cold settled in my stomach, but I pushed it down. You're right, he said quietly. I did think you were my everything. Past tense. He slid the folder across the table. My hands shook slightly as I opened it, though I tried to keep my expression neutral. The first page made my breath catch. Photos, dates, times, locations. What is this? Mr. Patterson leaned over to look. Private investigators report, Chandler said calmly. Dated surveillance over the last 8 months. 4 different affair partners over the past 2 years. Dates, times, locations, photographic evidence. My hands were definitely shaking now. You had me followed? I had my wife followed, he corrected, and something about the way he said wife made it sound like a dirty word. When she started coming home at midnight smelling like someone else's cologne. When she started password protecting her phone after 7 years of leaving it unlocked. When she suddenly needed to work late 3 nights a week at a job that never required overtime before. The mediator was flipping through pages, and his expression said everything. There were photos of me with David at that little cafe we liked. Pictures of Reagan and me going into that hotel. Timestamps showing exactly when I'd told Chandler I was visiting my sister, while I was actually with Bryce. Credit card receipts for places I'd never mentioned going. This is invasion of privacy, I stammered, because this felt like a violation. He'd been watching me, documenting my every move like some stalker. Actually, Chandler said, my lawyer confirmed it's completely legal. No expectation of privacy in public places, vehicles, or hotel parking lots. I slammed the folder shut. The room felt too small, too bright. I want a different mediator. This is ridiculous. You're trying to make me look bad. I'm showing documentation of marital infidelity, he said in that same even tone, which impacts asset division and spousal support in this state. Quite significantly, actually. Mr. Patterson cleared his throat. Mrs., perhaps we should take a break and reconvene when both parties have had time to review this new information with their respective counsel. New information? My voice cracked. He's been spying on me. This is harassment. It's evidence, Chandler said. Collected by a licensed professional, all admissible in court. I grabbed my purse, my hands still trembling. We're done here. I'm calling my lawyer. You're not getting away with this. Getting away with what? Documenting your affairs. You manipulative piece of. I caught myself, glanced at the mediator. I'm leaving. This is hostile. I stormed out, the door slamming behind me hard enough to rattle something on the wall. In the parking lot, I sat in my car for 20 minutes, trying to process what had just happened. How long had he known? How long had he been planning this ambush? The week that followed was absolute chaos. I called Chandler 36 times the first day, leaving voicemails that ranged from apologetic to threatening to completely hysterical. He didn't answer a single one. Every call went straight to voicemail, every text got no response. My lawyer, when I finally reached him, delivered the worst possible news. The PI report was completely legal. Licensed investigator, public spaces, proper documentation. We had no grounds to challenge it. This kills any chance you had of getting spousal support, he explained. And it significantly impacts asset division. We need to start thinking about damage control. Damage control. Like I was some kind of criminal, instead of a woman who'd been neglected and driven to find companionship elsewhere. That's when the real dirty tactics started. If Chandler wanted to play hardball, I could play too. I called his parents, told them about his controlling behavior throughout our marriage, how I was scared of him, how the PI thing was him stalking me because I wanted to leave. His mother called me back crying. This isn't true, is it? Tell me this isn't true. He's been emotionally abusive for years, I said, letting my voice break just right. I tried to make it work, but he's trying to destroy me now because I finally stood up for myself. I sent similar messages to our mutual friends, explaining how Chandler had been unavailable throughout our marriage, how I'd tried everything to make it work, how I was lonely and vulnerable when I made some mistakes, how he was now using illegally obtained evidence to humiliate me. Some people believed me. Lost about 5 friends who took my side without asking questions, but the ones who actually knew us, they started asking uncomfortable questions. My college friend Reagan called. Tiffany, Chandler just sent me some kind of report. Want to tell me what's actually going on? When I tried to explain about the emotional neglect, the loneliness, how those relationships were just me trying to find what was missing at home, she got quiet. 4 different guys over 2 years? She asked. And you're trying to paint Chandler as the bad guy? I escalated. Told my family that Chandler had been hiding money, that he had secret accounts, that he was trying to leave me with nothing. My mother, Charlie, showed up at his apartment that Thursday night, pounding on the door. Through the peephole, I could see her face red with fury. When Chandler cracked the door open, she let him have it. How dare you humiliate my daughter like this? I haven't humiliated anyone, he said calmly. I documented infidelity during divorce proceedings. You hired someone to stalk her, to take pictures. This is abuse. It's evidence collection, legal evidence collection. But my mother wasn't backing down. She made some mistakes. That doesn't give you the right to destroy her reputation. She destroyed her own reputation by sleeping with 4 different people while married to me. The conversation went downhill from there, with my mother jabbing her finger at him, telling him I deserved better, that those men saw what he couldn't, that I was special, that I deserved to be worshipped. Then they can worship her through their own bank accounts, not mine, Chandler said before closing the door. When that didn't work, I tried legal tactics. Filed an emergency motion claiming he was withholding marital funds and restricting my access to financial resources. My lawyer filed paperwork claiming financial abuse, saying Chandler had cut me off and I couldn't afford basic necessities. The problem was I had access to my own bank account, the one Chandler had been depositing $1,200 into every month for 2 years. $8,000 just sitting there for my monthly allowance for personal expenses. Chandler's lawyer filed a countermotion that included my bank statements. Every withdrawal, every charge to restaurants and hotels, all coinciding with the PI's surveillance dates. They showed I had accessible funds and was spending them on my affairs. The hearing was brutal. I sat there explaining how I needed immediate support, how Chandler was trying to control me financially, how I was afraid of what he might do. But when the judge saw the bank statements showing $8,000 in charges for hotel rooms on the same dates as my documented affairs, his expression said everything. You're claiming financial hardship while maintaining an $8,000 balance and spending $300 at a time on hotel rooms? My lawyer tried to spin it, but the judge wasn't having it. Motion denied. Outside the courthouse, I cornered Chandler in the parking lot. You're really doing this? You're really going to destroy me over some mistakes? 4 affairs aren't mistakes, he said. I was lonely. You were always at work. I needed attention. So get a hobby, not 4 boyfriends. The coldness in his voice cut deep. You're such a self-righteous prick. You think you're perfect? Never claimed to be, but I stayed faithful. That's kind of the bare minimum in marriage. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. You know what? Fine, take your precious evidence. Take your moral high ground. But you're gonna pay for this. I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of person you really are. Everyone already knows what kind of person you are, he said. I have photographs. When the restraining order I filed got dismissed, when my claims of abuse got laughed out of court, when every legal maneuver I tried backfired spectacularly, I started to realize that maybe I'd underestimated Chandler. The man I'd always seen as weak and controllable was systematically dismantling every argument I made with documented evidence and legal precedent. The final settlement negotiations were a nightmare. Instead of the house and long-term support I expected, I was looking at a much smaller share of assets and minimal spousal support. My lawyer advised me to take whatever I could get because going to trial would make everything public record. They're offering you 35% of the house proceeds, he explained. Chandler keeps his retirement accounts. You get $800 a month spousal support for 1 year. That's it. 1 year? I sacrificed my career for that marriage. You also had 4 documented affairs. We're lucky to get anything. The day we signed the final papers, I couldn't help myself. You know, this is just because you couldn't handle that. I needed more than you could give. Those men understood me in ways you never could. Chandler looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in months. You're absolutely right, he said. I blinked, surprised. What? They understood you. They understood exactly what you are. Someone who uses people, who takes what she wants and justifies it however she needs to. They understood that perfectly. The difference is they didn't care because they weren't married to you. They didn't have anything to lose. They were just having fun with someone else's wife. His words hit like physical blows. But yeah, they understood you better than I did, because I actually thought you had integrity. Turns out I was wrong. I signed the last page with shaking hands. You're going to regret this. When you're alone and miserable, you'll regret letting me go. I'm already happier than I've been in 2 years. You'll never find anyone like me. God, I hope not. The divorce finalized 3 months later. The house sold fast and my 35% came out to about $60,000 after closing costs. Chandler's 65% was over $100,000. The spousal support would run out in 8 months. I thought I was smart. Rented an expensive apartment in the trendy part of town, bought new furniture, a new wardrobe. I was going to show everyone that I was thriving without Chandler's controlling presence. I even invested in my friend's essential oils business, thinking I'd make some real money. But the men who'd made me feel so special during my marriage? David stopped returning my calls the week the divorce was final. Reagan blocked my number when I asked if he wanted to make things official now that I was free. Bryce told me he wasn't looking for anything serious. And Harlow? He was back with his ex-girlfriend before I'd even moved into my new place. Turns out they were interested in the married woman with a stable life and someone else paying the bills. The divorced woman who needed actual financial and emotional support? Not so appealing. 6 months after the divorce, I was working retail at a department store, making $32,000 a year. My mother was helping with rent because I'd burned through most of my settlement money. The essential oils business turned out to be a pyramid scheme that cost me another $5,000. Meanwhile, I heard through mutual friends that Chandler was doing well. Really well. He'd gotten some kind of advancement at work, bought a new car, was dating someone new. Isabella, a tax attorney, who apparently treated him with the respect I never bothered to give him. I tried reaching out to him once, sending a text from a new number. I know you hate me, but I need you to know I'm sorry. I messed up everything and I see that now. He never responded, just blocked the number like I was some random spam caller. My sister called a few weeks ago, trying to tell me that maybe I should reach out again, that Chandler might be willing to extend the spousal support if I approached it right. Don't you think you should at least try? She asked. You used to love him. I used to depend on him, I corrected. There's a difference. The truth is, sitting here in my tiny apartment with my retail job and my mother's pity money, I can see exactly how everything went wrong. But I can't bring myself to care anymore. Chandler got his revenge with his precious evidence and his legal victory. He got to play the wronged husband while I got painted as the cheating wife. Fine. Let him have his perfect new life with his perfect new girlfriend who probably never had a rebellious thought in her life. Let him have his moral superiority and his financial success and his smug satisfaction at watching me struggle. The thing is, I'm not the same person who walked into that mediation office thinking she deserved everything. I'm harder now, more realistic about what people are really capable of when they want to hurt you. Chandler taught me that the man you think you know, the man you've been married to for 7 years, can become a stranger overnight when it serves his purposes. Maybe I made mistakes. Maybe I should have handled things differently. But I'll never believe that what he did was proportional to what I did. I was trying to find happiness in a dead marriage. He was trying to destroy me completely. And you know what? He succeeded. The house, the security, the life I thought I deserved, it was all built on his stability, his income, his willingness to support me. Without that foundation, I'm just another single woman in her 30s working retail and living paycheck to paycheck. The cats he kept probably have a better life than I do now. But I'm surviving, and that's something. I'm surviving and I'm learning, and maybe someday I'll find someone who appreciates what I have to offer without needing a private investigator to keep tabs on me. Or maybe I won't. Maybe this is just what my life looks like now. Either way, I'm done pretending that Chandler was some innocent victim in all this. We both made choices. His just happened to be more calculated and more devastating than mine. That's the real difference between us. I acted from emotion, from need, from loneliness. He acted from strategy, from revenge, from a cold desire to win at any cost. I can live with being the woman who made mistakes. I'm not sure I could live with being the person who systematically destroyed someone they once claimed to love. But then again, maybe that's just what I tell myself to sleep at night in my studio apartment while he's probably sleeping peacefully next to Isabella in whatever perfect house they've made together. Either way, it's over. 7 years of marriage reduced to legal documents and bitter memories. And despite everything, despite the evidence and the lawyers and the public humiliation, I still don't think I deserve this. Maybe that makes me delusional. Maybe that makes me exactly the kind of person Chandler always said I was. But it's the only truth I have left. And I'm holding on to it.